Hey, it's Maggie from Tori Consulting, and today I'm going to give you a glimpse into the world of design through the eyes of leading designers across Australia. Here we go. So how did you get into design?
The phrase I usually tell people is it was by accident. So the communications director was away for a while, and so they asked me to do some light editing on their web interface. Back then it was Joomla. And I realized that I was really enjoying the actual work on the website and not the other stuff I had to do all day. So I just started getting more into that and teaching myself about front end development. And from there, I figured out that UX was the thing. And just, yeah, that's how I got into the path.
I think my parents planned my career before I was even born, because my name in Spanish translated to English means put together or assemble. When I was a kid, I used to draw like a lot. I remember making up like random stories in my head and then drawing them on paper. Obviously today, if you see any of my initial pieces, you would say, Armando, I don't think so. But back then they seemed perfect to me.
I am a fair bit older than a lot of my colleagues. So I was in design before digital was really a thing. I started art school when I was 18. So that's let's see, that's 27 years ago now. So yeah, there were a few Macs at the time, and we had Quark Express, and yeah, without going into much history, but yeah, so I grew up with it, went to art school. I didn't finish art school. I did my military service and then studied journalism. So that was a bit of a different direction, but while studying that, I started making websites. It was not something that was taught in school yet at the time, so I did that on my own. And I started working for the company of one of my classmates' father. It was a consultancy, and they focused on project management training, Prince2. And I created an online tool, a web tool for that training. And that's how I started working more for that company. And I guess that's how I got into digital design.
So ever since I was a child, I have always been interested in art and just painting, drawing. I studied history of art, and then I pursued fine arts in college. So basically, I did my applied art, got a degree in fine arts, and that's how my journey with design and art just started professionally as well.
So I started my career about 15 years ago in more graphic design role. So UX wasn't really a big thing at the time. I wasn't even aware of UX back then. I'm also originally from Israel, so slightly different than Australia.
And what's changed the most since you started your career?
Nowadays, there's a niche or specialization for everything: customer experience, UX research, UX copywriting, experience strategy, information architecture, usability analyst. Every single role or occupation addressing a very specific need inside an organization.
The number of ways that you can get involved in UX. I think more and more people are not really saying that it was an accident. They're actually able to go and study it in a course.
And you're really, really never too old to learn. That's a huge opportunity. So if it's something that you are passionate about and you think you want to really follow a career in, start with that. Like, why not? There's great universities here in Australia, and everything is nowadays is obviously also remote, so you can really fit it in well into your schedule, and take your time. If you really want to do this, then start at the beginning and take your time to do it properly.
When you get out of learning and you're in work, there's just a ton more touch points for interaction and ways that you get involved. So a lot of the UX that I was doing at the beginning of my career was really just websites. And now there's a proliferation of ways that you have to think about design and how customer interacts with your brands.
The number of design tools we can choose from today is huge. Autodesk, for example, and Adobe are not the only options anymore. Now it's like a candy shop for us. You've got so many other design tools like Figma, Framer, Sketch, Balsamiq, Axure, etc. All of them constantly competing against each other.
A decade ago, things have just changed. The whole game around creating responsive websites or creating experiences for any wearables, and the technology has changed so much. Social media came into picture. So that started driving a lot of requirements. And also, I would say the work has evolved from just to create good design or aesthetically pleasing work or designs to actually more meaningful, more functional work, which would solve real user problems. So much more research and data centric.
So again, from doing mainly kind of, pretty visuals that was, or really pretty, but again, not necessarily meeting the needs of customers, I started kind of to learn more about, well, first of all, UI and usability, and understand that usability is such an important component of every solution. But then even more than that, I took a few courses in psychology and started to understand the psychology around people's behavior and why people are actually using the different products and different systems or different services that they have. Right. So without doing research, you don't know if you're designing the right solution.
It's a real trade and it's a real profession. And it's not just something that you do because you have the tools on your computer.
Who would you say is your biggest design inspiration? It could be a brand, a person, anything.
I went to art school to study fashion design, so it's a bit different. Yeah, maybe Victor and Rolf. I mean, just to stick with the Dutch, I think they're great. I love what they do.
My biggest design inspiration is actually the Nature Daily briefings. And if I had to assign it to a person, it would be the editor, Flora Graham. That is one of the only emails that I absolutely read every single day, and I love it. It doesn't matter how busy I am or how full my inbox is, I always take the time to look at it. And to me, the fact that there's an email out there that would do that in a world of noise is really impressive. I take inspiration for design from all over the place. So even a chemistry paper or a life science, anything from the life sciences, you never know.
I'd probably say Patagonia. That's how we say it in Spanish. That it's the hiking and outdoor clothing store for some main reasons. A high proportion of all their products is made from recycled products. It's a brand that's constantly looking for ways to reduce their carbon footprint. They are well known to have decent labor conditions with their workers. They discourage people from buying a lot of their products as well. There was actually a famous campaign named Don't Buy This Jacket to tackle issues of massive consumerism.
From brand point of view, I think I have followed Google much more than any other brand in terms of the way they have experimented, the way their business strategy works, the way we have all been hooked to so many products by Google. And I don't just mean their search engine, which I don't think we can do without, or we just say Google it. We may use another search engine, but we're actually, it's a term that we live by. Or who knew 10 years ago that we would use YouTube the way we do now, or people are making careers out of YouTube because of those platforms, or Android, the way they created an open-ended platform for coders and engineers and designers to come in and experiment rather than restricting it. Having said that, Google has also failed a lot in a lot of products. So the whole factor of experimenting, whether it works or not, is a challenge, but that's how we are as humans as well. We need to keep trying, and things may work, things may not work as much, but you keep on trying and excelling in few things, and you need to accept failure as well. So I think Google is pretty good at doing that. For example, their product, Google Buzz. I remember being excited about Google Goggles at that time. And yeah, Google Plus, their social media engine. So many things have not really worked, or Nexus for that matter. They had big plans, it didn't work. So I would like to emphasize on the fact that failure is normal, but success is also normal, and it's a sweet amalgamation of experimentation that is much more important than anything else.
It will be Don Norman and Jared Spool. I follow them a lot, and I absolutely love what they talk about, how they uplift the UX practices in the world. I had the pleasure of meeting Jared Spool about 18 months ago He came to Australia. I joined his workshop. He is such an amazing guy, so down to earth, so open, such a great personality. So I feel like I'm kind of giving him some publication here. But if anyone has the opportunity really to follow what he's doing, I think he's doing an amazing work for the design community. And he's also offering a lot of free webinars and workshops today during COVID, which is great as well.
So as a brand, Google, but as people, so many who come at different parts of your career, who may influence you to become better designers, better leaders, or just better people. They may be directly associated with you, colleagues, peers, supervisors, seniors, juniors. It's just a combination. The energy that the newbies have is great, and the kind of exposure that they have at the moment is amazing.
What do you think the user experience is going to look like in 2021?
That it's never a one size fits all, and that's something, especially now that you see, you come into people's homes and you see that they're individuals. They have all the different backgrounds, right? Okay, thinking way more outside of the box.
I hope that UX will start to involve more professional development around ethics. And I want to say particularly Melbourne's own Dr. Melissa Nova is somebody who's actually been doing that. She has a really fantastic talk called The Shadow Side of Design. She gave at South by Southwest a few years ago. It's hazy though. I mean, ethics is also part of medicine now, but it's a tough topic for doctors. And it's so hard because you have to confront your own morals and beliefs, and it's really painful sometimes. But I think that's gonna make those of us who wanna really push our field forward, that's what's gonna be important for us to be able to hold those spaces and talk about those things together.
I think COVID now kind of was, it was obviously horrible for everyone, but I think from a design perspective, the design community actually shown that, the need for its existence and how we are, supporting and can really, shift how people are solving problems. So I'll say, for example, all the remote work that is happening now because of COVID, a lot of the different tools that exist is because designers designed that, right? So, InVision is one thing, or Miro, or every collaboration tool. It's really based on a lot of work that designers have done. So I think with that, and not just those tools, I would say also internal processes. The designers have a lot of a say in them. So I think this was, obviously a very negative thing for everyone, but it was slightly positive, I think, for designers when we had the opportunity to actually kind of uplift the game and show that we can add a lot of value in different things, not just in UX design. So what I see kind of starting to happen is that designers are kind of moving a bit away from just doing UX, just focusing on the product, to do a bit more of service design or customer experience, or even organizational design, and becoming way more the facilitators and bringing people together and helping different parts of the business to show the impact of good design and the ROI of that as well.
The demand for UX designers will keep growing. Other design branches and hence specializations may appear. Remote co-design tools will get even better, helping individuals and organizations to navigate through pandemic uncertainties.
So what's the most ridiculous thing you've been asked for as a designer?
I got asked to do the UX in 3 days for an entire multi-site internal learning management system platform. There was no product definition, no problem definition, nothing. Oh my God, really? Do you not get how this works? I had to do a little bit of advocacy, which is another big thing in design. Even in current times, we're getting taken more and more seriously, and there's more and more leaders that are able to advocate for design at the leadership table.
Been working on something for months and the whole thing is basically yellow, and then it's no, I don't feel it. It has to be red. And luckily enough, it's often not even that hard to change it, but it's more why? Why?
In general, I've been asked so many times, can you Photoshop it? Can you make it pretty? Take the solution. Oh, Lital will make it pretty. But that's not my job. My job is not to make something pretty. My job is to make something work, right? Because you have the title designer. People think that what we do is making things pretty. So it requires a lot of education of people and saying what design really means. I actually have it for my family as well. Like they have no idea what I'm doing, and it's actually hilarious every time that we talk about it. But yeah, that's probably the main thing.
There was a special request that caught me slightly off guard. To give you better context, imagine the Mexican version of Karen from Brighton asking me to design for her some biodegradable gloves to pick up dog poo. Her idea was to design a glove that was slightly longer on one of its sides so that you could grab the truffle, let's call it, and then pull the glove from an end, flip it, make a knot, and dispose it. I always had the gut feel that the product didn't have like any future or didn't have any legs. But if you consider yourself a good designer, you need to validate your assumptions, right? So after a lot of prototypes, rounds of testing, and some focus groups, we found out that the majority of the participants we spoke to were not happy to pay twice the amount of money they usually pay for their regular poo bags in the shape of a glove. So that informed at least my client that she shouldn't be investing in a project like that. And it's one of those things that people all of a sudden they think they have a great idea, and then they assume that it's going to work because people around them that obviously care about them just give them the wrong signals, like saying, oh, it's a great idea, I think I would probably buy it. And then when they are presenting them to their friends, obviously to feel supported, they are going to say, yeah, it's a great idea. But once you put it out there with the right demographic, with the right people, that's when you realize that maybe your product or your project is not as attractive or desirable as you would expect.
I had to create a roadmap for the next 6 months, for which would have cost around 500,000 K. And I was given like a couple of days to come and come back with my features, like a bunch of 40 features for the 6 months based on anecdotal research. And I was trying to fight that, like, let's not go with assumptions. Assumptions are great to start or kick off a project, but not when MVP has already been created and we are now creating the next phase. Let's learn from MVP. Can you give me a few days to at least test what has worked and not worked? So that was the most ridiculous requirement I've ever dealt with. Every designer is different. There is a difference between a UI designer versus a UX versus a service designer and CX. So unfortunately, that is not largely known, how well we can help with probably just one specialty in us and not everything. One person may not be able to do everything. So finding a unicorn all the time or expecting them to do everything is not the way to go. Then there's a lot of imposter syndrome within designers, then they cope with it, there's anxiety, there's burnout. So we don't talk about those things, unfortunately. We only talk about how amazing design is, and this is what I would like to do, and this is what I would like to create using machine learning, AI, and dark mode and tools. But you also need to be exposed to the not so good things about being in this industry, which you can, I'm so thankful. There are so many articles and so many people who keep now talking about it. So just pay attention and listen to yourself. And if things are not working out, then address it, address the issues, address the situation, communicate, call out if you need support and help. I learned the hard way, but now I know where to draw the line. Or if I need help, hey, this is a job for 2 designers. Can we have somebody, or can we push the deadline? Either or has to work, or we may have to compromise on the quality. So you just have to create scenarios and and provide them. You can't have a yes or a no always. There has to be a middle ground, and we just have to work around it.
Thanks so much for watching, and thank you to all our wonderful designers for sharing their tips and insights. If there's anything else you want me to cover, let me know. Otherwise, share the video so we can spread the word and let more people know about what's happening in design. Till next time, bye.